How you doing today, sir?
I'm doing great. Always doing great. Thanks for having me.
No problem. So the first thing I actually want to talk to you about was the Slam Force Africa promotion. Just tell me about that because I always I would see the stuff on social media, but I would never, I didn't get the chance to really get into it. I know you guys had a show back in October, I believe it was. So just tell me a little bit about that. Tell the people who are watching just a bit about that and what you guys got coming up in the future.
Yeah, so I grew up in South Africa. My father was a wrestler. That's how I got into the business. He passed away in 1999, so wrestling kind of, thank you very much, wrestling kind of like almost died from there. You know, like when I say died, I mean, there's some promotions there, but like no one is making a living out of wrestling. So what I wanted to do is start up Slam Force so I can just teach the younger generation what I've learned in my 22 years experience, you know. And we started this company and we want to start at some schools in South Africa because there's a lot of talent out there with just not enough eyes on it. And so far it's doing good. Yeah, like you said, we had our first show in October. The second show was supposed to be February 28th, but we actually just postponed it today to May. But yeah, a lot of big things to come for sure.
So actually, one of the sleeper matches of 2019 for me was I believe it was yourself, Chase Owens at LSG at Center Stage. Do you remember that match or remember anything about it? Because I really think, and not just because you're saying here, but I really do think that was one of the sleeper matches of 2019. Like that was a real good three-way match that I don't think a lot of people really paid attention to.
Right. You're absolutely right. But that's the thing with Ring of Honor. There's so many good matches going on right now. You know, like every once in a while, someone will be like, wow, that match was so good. And of course I do remember it. I remember every single match I've had in Ring of Honor so far. And that's what makes me so excited because that was one of the deciding factors of me coming to Ring of Honor. I looked at the roster and I was like, wow, I can have great matches with all of these guys. And yeah, it was definitely one of those matches that I had to watch back, and I was like, oh, wow, that was really cool, really fun, and my neck still hurts.
Okay, so it's been about 2 years now that you've been with Ring of Honor, 2 years going on 3 years, right? Tell me, I know it's public knowledge that you talked about re-signing with the company. Just tell me about what were some of the decisions that led to you deciding to stick around with Ring of Honor.
Yeah, there was a few things. I think for the first time in my life, I actually made a pros and cons list because I had a couple of other offers on the table. Ring of Honor just came through and gave me everything what I wanted and more. You know, like I consider myself an artist, and wrestling is an art form in a way. You know, and art is subjective, and they give me creative freedom. You know, like to be me. You know, like in other bigger companies, you get. They tell you what to wear, what to say, what to do in the ring, what kind of moves to do. Like now I can be me so people can see who PJ Black really is. And that was a for sure on top of my list.
So about your run in Lucha Underground, I feel like that was a really underrated run. Like you were there from, I believe, from start to finish, weren't you? You were there from or near from start to finish, somewhere near that.
I'll tell you the story. Actually, they did call me for season 1, but I actually started on season 2. But I've never heard of it at that time, so I was like, nah, I don't want to sign with anyone right now because I had a few other companies also wanted to sign me at the same time, and I was like, no, I just want to be an independent wrestler for a year and like trying to find myself as a performer. And yeah, so I didn't do the first season, but once it started airing on TV, I watched it and I was like, how did I say no to this? This is good stuff. So within a year later, they called me back, and yeah, I think I was on episode 2 of season 2.
So what was that experience like in Lucha Underground? Because the feel and the look is so unique, and it was really like I think for just a stretch of years, Lucha Underground, they had something different from every other wrestling organization or company out there. Just tell me about your experience there, and how do you think the presentation came off if you would watch it back sometime? Because it was a really cool, just like everything about it.
Totally, it was very different, and that's what's cool about it because it wasn't so much a wrestling show; it was a TV show about wrestling. And that's what made it different. So, like, you know, like the vignettes, the backstage stuff, everything was very cinematic, kind of very movie-like. That's what made it fun. And, I mean, I've been to a few WrestleManias, but I promise you, the Temple, that was the most electrifying crowd I've ever worked in front of. And if I can ever choose to ever go back anywhere, it'll be there, man. But it was super fun. I wish it lasted a little bit longer. But, yeah, it was a great chapter in my life for sure.
And I know you had the opportunity to wrestle the NWA World's Heavyweight Champion Nick Aldis in the past. Everybody knows, obviously, the relationship between Ring of Honor and NWA. Would you ever be interested in running that match back with Nick Aldis on NWA's turf?
Oh, totally, man. I've actually planted that seed lately, and I hope it's going to happen. Who knows? It's wrestling, right? So never say never. But I have a feeling that it's going to happen again.
Okay, so I know you were part of the Lifeblood faction. I know that group started off originally with Juice Robinson, Tennille Dashwood, David Finley, and a couple of others. Just tell me about the current crop of people that are in the group right now, and what do you think you've added to the group?
So currently I'm not in the group right now. I try to join them, but I'm kind of like a mentor to them. All those kids, they come to me constantly for advice, in and out of the ring, which I find crazy. I still feel very young, but I've been doing this for 22 years, so I can see like some of these kids come to me for advice. So it's pretty cool, and I help them out as much as I can. And all of the kids in Lifeblood, I think they're fantastic. Like Mark Haskins, like I was there for the first day that he started training wrestling in the UK. I was living in the UK at the time. Bandito, I think he's the future of pro wrestling. He's fantastic. I mean, we all know what he can do. And then I think it's only them two left. No, we got Tracy Williams. It's just them three in Lifeblood, and I'm really looking forward to what they're going to achieve this year.
Isn't it surreal though, like how you see people so early on in their careers, and then you all end up like coming back around to each other in some way, some fashion in the professional wrestling? Like, isn't that crazy?
It's crazy, and you know what? That's what I love about professional wrestling. Like I know I've said this a few times, but I've done this for 22 years, and I feel like wrestling is a very small community. Like wherever I go around the world, I run into the same faces, and I get to work the younger generation. I think it's an incredible time in pro wrestling right now to be a wrestler, and especially to be a fan.
So with someone that has tallied up the amount of experience that you have, I did want to get your thoughts on this because I think you would be more qualified to answer this question. What do you think about the state of the independent wrestling scene right now? With so many companies, so many people getting signed exclusively, and it just leaves, I don't want to say like a hole in the independent scene, but I'm pretty sure the independent scene, I don't want to say it's not booming like how it used to be, but I'm pretty sure like maybe 6-10 years ago it was just like a hotbed, like, and everybody that you see that's at the top of their game right now is signed exclusively. So what do you think about the state of the independent wrestling scene right now, just with everybody being signed? And do you think it's a positive thing that more talents are now being able to take those spots?
I think it's a positive thing, and wrestling evolves all the time, and look how far we've come. Like, remember we had the Attitude Era, and I feel like we had like the Reality Era, and that's when the independents were booming. And I think the independents are still booming, but these little companies have more money to sign people exclusively, which is fantastic for wrestlers, because wrestlers can make a living out of this now, especially independent wrestlers, and they push even harder. And there's so many young kids now, man, and so many great talents out there, and I think it's a fantastic time right now for, like I said before, for wrestlers and for fans. Maybe for fans, not so much, because there's so much product out there, so you can kind of pick and choose what you want. And that's also the reason why a lot of these kids have to step up their game. Like, it's in the last 5 years, I've seen like a drastic like incline in wrestling, and in like the athleticism of the kids, the character development, and just like everything. People call it the it factor. Like you can see the it factor just coming out of these kids at a very, very young age.
Okay, so last question here. Like going back again to the amount of experience that you tallied up, have you ever considered coaching or producing, like like maybe 5 or 10 years down the line? Have you ever considered that?
Totally, man. Totally. I think about this all the time, and if you follow the current storylines, I've kind of taken a rookie under my wing, Brian Johnson, and I'm mentoring him. Teaching him everything I've learned, and that's also a reason I want to open schools in South Africa, because there's a lot of young kids there who need just a little bit of guidance, and I want to teach them what I have learned so they can also make a living in professional wrestling. But in the same breath, I still feel good. My body feels good. I feel young. I feel like I'm very creative. I got some new stuff in the works too. So I'm going to keep doing this until my body gives out. But I definitely want to give back in the future to the younger generation.